Slim here with your weekly look at Proverbs, wisdom that matters. And Proverbs are like truth serum. It's like a key to unlock the universe to see how life really is. And this week we're going to be looking at of ants and slugs. Ants are this fantastic little insect that are always working, always in line, always have a job to do. You never see a rogue ant sitting back and munching on a Dorito by itself. Even their bodies have two stomachs, one for itself and one to share. And God says in Proverbs, "Go to the ant, O sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief officer or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in the harvest." And what do we learn? They have no chief. And so they are self-motivated, and they have an amazing work ethic, carrying loads of stuff bigger than they are on their back. And they're always working well within a community, doing the hard work of redeeming the time that God has given them. And they're planning ahead. And so all these things are good things as a way to contrast the sluggard. And so God says, "Oh, sluggard, look at the ant, the man." The pinnacle of creation is to look at an insect, the fraction of its size, and learn from it. And so it's a humbling thing for a man to learn from an ant. And so what is a slug? A slug is this slow, slimy creature that God personifies into a sluggard. And the Hebrew word for sluggard is actually this poorly strung bow that shoots arrows inaccurately. And so it's this limp bow and arrow. And so that's what a sluggard is, someone who's limp, someone who's lazy, who's slack, who's whiny, and is a bum. And it's not something to just laugh at. It's actually one of the 7 deadly sins called sloth. And it's deadly because it's the fear if you keep going down this path, you will not inherit eternal life. Most sluggards don't even know that they are sluggards, and if you're ever accused of being a sluggard, you will fight to the death that that's not you. And so that's actually the first sign that you might be a sluggard, is that you have ridiculous excuses as to why you're lazy and justifying it. Of saying, "I'm just too busy. Yeah, I can't, I'm busy. I'm busy, I'm busy, busy because you're lazy. You are finding reasons to not do what you're supposed to be doing." One of the excuses Proverbs says sluggards come up with is saying, "There's a lion in the road, there's a lion in the streets." Hey man, you wanna go see a movie?
Dude, I was just watching CNN. Donald Trump says there's a lion in the streets.
In Waco?
Yes, in Waco.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the next Branch Davidian crisis thing. I just can't do it this time.
What are some of the millions of excuses you come up with to not do something that you don't want to do? A sluggard doesn't say, "I don't want to do it." They just say, "I don't want to do it today. I'll do it tomorrow." And so a sluggard lives by the plague of tomorrow. I passed by the field of a sluggard, by the vineyard of a man who lacks sense, and behold, it was all overgrown with thorns. Do you ever have trouble starting your work?
I don't want to work. I just want to bang on this mug all day.
What about trouble finishing your work? The sluggard buries his hand in the dish but won't even bring it back to his mouth. Whoever loves pleasure will be a poor man, and whoever loves wine and oil will not be rich. And so a sluggard just loves comfort. I mean, how many hours are wasted on Netflix? I mean, the next video gives you only 7 seconds to decide, do I need to stay and watch another one? How many hours are wasted on this, on YouTube? How many hours are wasted on video games? I wasted so many hours in college playing Halo. Did God create you just to be the people of Wall-E? I hope not. I mean, I love this. God calls out the sleepy sluggards and says, "How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you rise from your sleep?"
6 o'clock, Bob. Time to wake up. Come on, let's go. Come on, Bob. Get up. Come on, Bob. Bob, rise and shine. Come on. Bob! Bob! Cock-a-doodle-doo! Bob! Bob! Oh!
A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands, and poverty will come on you like a robber and want like an armed man. I mean, I love that. God's talking so gentle and silently, a little sleep, a little slumber, then bam, poverty, bam, an armed man taking you. For teenagers, your work is your study. And so Do you have poor grades? Is that for a lack of studying, for a lack of working, and saying, I just need a little bit more sleep, a little bit more slumber, a little more folding of hands, and boom, you fail a test. A sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly. And so if you find that you're the smartest person you know and everyone else around you is an idiot, you might be a sluggard. I mean, do you like these people?
What is the point of you?
No! Proverbs goes on to say, like vinegar to the teeth and like smoke to the eye, so is the sluggard to those who send him. I mean, it's funny to talk about, but it's a tragic comedy to see that man who's always going to be the lazy man or that lazy woman. Playing video games for hours is not bad, but when you're giving up hours and hours and hours of your life, you have to wonder, what are you avoiding? He's resistant to God's work and therefore resistant to God. He's avoiding what God's actually calling him to and settling for lesser things. And so the sluggard is really a settler. He is settling for the lesser comforts rather than the greater comfort. He's disinvesting in God and investing in these other things and saying, I want to escape God into these things. And so one of the ways that we settle for less is that we avoid the good. We avoid actually fighting sin. We avoid actually reading the Bible and practicing these disciplines. But another way that we settle for less is that we give our lives to something completely else that's not even about God. And so another way that we settle for less is by dedicating our lives to something else. And so the workaholic and the exercise nut are just as much sluggards as the man who's sitting on the couch with Doritos all over him. He's just the turbo slug. And he's going and going and going and doing nothing. The things that sap our spiritual health, TV, YouTube, Netflix, video games, sports, our school activities, NHS, PALS, even school itself can all be instruments of laziness to take our minds off of what God is actually doing in us. Well, what happens when you pour salt on a slug? That's what needs to happen. We need to pour salt on ourselves and have the inner sluggard die. And the way we do that is by looking at what Jesus gave up, the comforts he gave up to come to save us. And he gave up the comforts of this great relationship with his Father, of being in eternity past and jumping into this world, being born, being in a manger, in a lowly estate. And he actually took a job and he learned how to sweat. He took a job where he used his hands and worked a full day, all for you and for me. And so Christ came not to make us comfortable, but to make our lives count. He didn't come so that we could just tune out, but to actually tune in. So the path to change is by looking at the ants and practicing that discipline. But the power to change is by looking at what Jesus has done for us. So today, redeem the time. Look at what Jesus has done for you and consider the ways you are actively disinvesting in God and being a sluggard. What is God calling you to pour the salt on? What are ways that you're avoiding God into these pleasures and these comforts? Don't be a sluggard. Don't be vinegar teeth. Don't be smoke eyes. Be an ant. Redeem the time.